Hello everyone and welcome to this video. In this video we're going to be taking a look at Astralojia Episode 1 for the PC. The game was produced and developed by Astralojia Studios and will be available on Steam in just a few days. This video is a type of review/preview as I am currently testing and reviewing the game before its official release, which will be in a few days time. So please do remember that some segments and footage that you might see here in this video could possibly change before its official release. Astralojia Episode 1 is the first game in what is a planned series, much like that of what you would get from the Telltale game series. But looking at all of this, I'm sure you're all wondering, is this any good or not? Here's what Episode 1 of this planned series has to offer. The game's story is all about a young boy named Taku who is travelling back to his hometown to enter an entrance exam in the hopes of being accepted and being allowed to join a highly prestigious mages college. You start off as Taku in the woods and then begin your journey from there as you travel through forests, meet people along the way, and then eventually return home and getting yourself ready for the game's eventual outcome. The game's story isn't too overly complicated as this is just Episode 1, and it's firstly just introducing you to the series and the characters before getting seriously deep into the planned story that's ahead of you. At present, the game's story is essentially just all about you learning about the game and what you can expect from it, while also trying to get back to your hometown along the way. So, unlike a lot of current games, this doesn't really have a beginning, middle and end, as it is just the very start. So really, all that's here at present is just the beginning of this adventure. Character-wise, you're only really given Taku to play as, who is the game's main character, and as you progress through the story, you'll learn a little bit more about him. Later on in the game, you'll be introduced to Juno and then Mina, but Mina only really shows up at the very end for a very brief time. You'll learn a little bit about each one of these characters, but for the time being, the main focus is just on Taku. The character interactions are all well done, but maybe could have been handled slightly better with dialogue, perhaps. I just personally feel that with some of the conversations, they feel as if they're lacking a little emotion to them. However, this is just Episode 1, so things could improve on Episode 2 where we'll learn more about each of the characters individually. The fact is, we just don't know yet. Astralojia's gameplay has you wandering in the woods, going into town, learning new skills, and practicing combat with other students that you meet along the way. Once you're in combat, everything plays like your usual RPG such as the Final Fantasy series and others, where everything is turn-based and how you have several abilities which you can use in battle. You also have a hit and miss detection system which works via you pressing the correct buttons at the correct time. Get this right and your defense will work and you'll either block or you'll dodge. Get this right for striking and you can pretty much end a match in a single hit. Everything is really what you would expect it to be here for your usual RPG, but the game also adds a few new elements by throwing some random things in places here and there. The game's graphics are something which I haven't seen for a very long time, not since the PlayStation 1 game Xenogears. Graphics consist of the environments being 3D rendered, while the characters and everything else are rendered in 2D and then placed into them. So while everything such as the trees, houses and everything else are rendered in 3D, you yourself are rendered in 2D and wander around freely, but you also have the effect of, while being 2D, having a slight 3D type element to it, by your character having a front, back and side animation for what direction you're aiming the character to go in. The game is created using the Unity engine, and it's really rather impressive what's being created here, as the developer pretty much has made everything themselves from scratch, all on his own. However, the Unity engine, being the Unity engine, can be a bit difficult at times, and I did notice in some locations that had a lot of trees or rocks in the distance that they would vanish, reappear, and then vanish again. I have seen this before in quite a few other Unity engine run games, so I know to expect a few graphical glitches here and there. When it comes to Astralojia Episode 1's graphics, I do really like the style and I do really like the design that the developer has gone for with this game's graphics, as it reminds me so much of older games that I used to play on my PlayStation 1. It just feels like a nice nod to those older games and will make older gamers like myself appreciate what's being made here that little bit more. With episode 1's environment, you're basically just given the woods, and that's all you really get for the moment. This part of the game is just about Taku travelling back to his hometown and going through the woods and meeting people along the way until he eventually arrives and stays with Juno for the night. What you do have is nice enough with trees, rocks, pathways and villages that you'll all pass along the way on your adventure, and all of them are really well created. And if I have to be honest about it, the only real negative thing I would have to say with the environments is that sometimes the camera angles do get stuck and possibly glitched in certain places, depending on what direction the player is trying to head in. It's only a small thing, but I do kind of wish that it was automatic, that the camera would just automatically follow you. Sometimes when you change to a different location, you have to press a button on your controller to essentially tell it where you are, otherwise the camera just stays where it is. It's only a small thing, and I don't know if this will be fixed upon the official release, but for the time being it's just a small nagging problem. Alright, so here is the all-important question. Should you buy Astralojia Episode 1, and should you commit yourself to this series that hopefully this game is going to be? Well, the game has its good points and its bad points just like all games, but remember, this is just Episode 1, it will hopefully become a several episode planned series, so hopefully with each new episode things should get better and improve. Episode 1 has a lot of good points to it. I like the character animations, I like the graphics, I like the combat system, and I like the general style and the pacing of the game. However, Episode 1 has a few bad points to it, with the possible worst being that the game is extremely short. I completed the game in roughly 2 hours, and that was me taking my time with it. You can of course raise the difficulty in the game to Pro if you want to maybe make the game last a little bit longer, but me personally, I don't really see the point in that. I would also say that another slight problem with the game is that the character interactions maybe need a little more polish to them, as aside from being angry, I don't really get any other emotion from Taku at all. But again, this is just episode 1, so for all I know, episode 2 could just be all about the 3 main characters, talking about who they are and everything that's happened to them. Astralojia Episode 1 is a good game that works well into enticing you into the series that this game is hopefully going to be, and it's definitely got me hooked. While the game may be extremely short, I did enjoy it and I want to know and learn more about it, and I will personally be keeping my eyes open for Episode 2 when it is hopefully released around November-December time, depending on what happens with the developer. Would I recommend Astralojia Episode 1? Yes, I would. While it is a very short game, it's very fun, and I know it has the potential to be a good series, and hopefully get better with each new instalment. Well, that's it for this video guys. Thank you for listening, thank you for watching, and please subscribe.